So we're gonna go over the parts that you're gonna get in a manual bottom up shade. So what you're gonna get is the bottom section, which is the fabric side. The upper section, which is your clutch mechanism, that's gonna pick up the shade. And then two sets of brackets, one for the lower side and then one for the upper side. And then you're gonna get these little screws. And those are what we're gonna use to lock in the take-up reels once we get them set where we would like them. All right, on the fabric portion of your bottom up shade, there's going to be a sprocket on either side. So when the shade is in the window, the way that's going to be installed, the right hand side is the stop. So if the shade is abruptly stopping either on the way up or the way down, you'll need to use this to adjust it accordingly, so that the shade can travel freely to its end limits. On the opposite side, flip this around, the opposite side is the tension side. So when you pull the shade up, it should pick itself up. If you hit a spot where it goes slack, that you can see there's not enough tension, we're gonna tension that spring and you're gonna wind the sprocket in the same direction that you want the fabric to roll up in. So counterclockwise, and you'll turn it, give it a test. Getting better, still a little loose, we'll give it another turn or two. And that fabric should stay taut the entire way to the bottom. 2 to 3 brackets depending on the size of your shade. Our shade is only going to use 2. There is a top and a bottom, so this tab here is going to stick out. It'll always be sticking out towards you. So on the bottom side, we're going to put them up against the window frame just like that. And for the upper portion, we're actually going to flip those, and they'll be installed just like that. So the circular tab is always pointing out. So we'll go ahead and install those to the back of the window frame. Same thing up top, and you want to keep them towards the end. You're going to hook that back portion first, and then those spring onto place. Same thing, if you need to remove it, you're going to put backward pressure on it, and then you'll come down. So go ahead and put this into our brackets. You're going to hook the bottom side, and you're going to push back, and then up. Like that, hold it in place. The same way we're going to hook this will now be the upper lip into the top of the bracket. We're on an angle into our brackets, and we're going to push back and down. So that snaps securely into place. We have both our shade and our take-up section installed. The take-up reels are going to be loose. There'll be a piece of tape holding your string in place. You'll want to undo that. And we're actually going to use the chain to run this all the way down. We want the chain connector to be all the way back around and closer to the top, so that way the chain can then be fed through to pick up the shade. So we're going to go ahead and run that all the way through. And we'll leave it a couple inches from the top of the clutch. And at this point, we'll go ahead and we're going to attach the strings to our hem bar next, and then we'll set the tension spools after. So we're just going to tie a simple half hitch on the back of this, on the end of this string. You do want to do your best to keep them as similar as using the same amount of length. You want the strings to be as close in length as possible. So you just fold that over itself, and you essentially just tie an overhand knot. You can use a different knot as well if you have a knot you like better. This is pretty clean. We'll kind of pull it down, and then we'll cut that tail off. And then we're just going to take this and slip this over our attachment point right here, like so. We can tighten that down and we'll just trim that excess tail off. Now we have our strings attached to our front bar. We're going to use the included screws to now attach to tighten up the take-up reels to our tube. So you're going to use your hand to manually take as much slack out of these as you can. Keep in mind, after you get them, you start operating, you may have to make some fine adjustments, but to start, you just want to pull them taut. We'll put a screw in to hold them, and then we'll run up and down and we'll make some minor adjustments if need be. So as you can see, this string is on way too much of an angle. So now we have it up, we're going to go ahead and bring this back over and tighten it back up. And same thing with this one, it's a little bit to the left, so we're going to loosen up and then we'll bring that back over as well and keep them as straight in line as possible. We're going to set the limit so the shade can't be over rotated in either direction. And then when we're done with that, we'll go ahead and attach the chain tensioner. So you're going to run the shade all the way up. You'll reach up and grab that highest bead you can get before it gets into the clutch. Pull it down. We're just going to put that bead stop over top of that location. We use our pliers here and squeeze that on it. And I'd go ahead and just double check that, make sure it's still in a good spot. And all the way down. And get a good spot, reach up, grab that chain as high as you can get to with your finger. Keep your finger on that bead, and then we're just going to crepe a stop around it. That prevents the shade from going too far in and getting jammed up. So we'll pull that up, and then we're going to go ahead and set our chain tensioner. You want to make sure you leave a little slack in this. You don't want to pull it tight. I actually like to push it to the wall, and then we push it up till the chain just contacts the bottom of the tensioner. It tends to be a very good place for it. If you get it too tight, the bead stops will actually get stuck in it as they try to pass through. Two screws. And you're going to want to remove this zip tie, and you can just break them off, or you can cut them off with some scissors. And that's it.